Beat everyone. These words changed my whole entire day. I had everything planned out for you today. We're doing Proverbs 1, the corresponding proverb, corresponding day, 3,000-year-old wisdom. And today, 2 words changed everything. Beat everyone. I got on the phone with my brother this morning, and I just love talking with him. My daughter was in the car with me, and he gave her some great advice. He said, you know, the greatest thing that your dad could ever do for you is have unconditional love for you. And that's all his job is. And my daughter was like, yeah. And then he said, I'm going to give you some advice, McKenna, that I give to my kids every day before they walk out the door. And then I thought he was just going to go deep and give her some philosophy and, you know, speak from the heart. And there was just 2 words. He said, beat everyone. And then he just got off the phone. And I started to think about it on my drive, and I thought, wow, what if every one of us had the opportunity in our life, or the thought process, the mentality, the heart that said, beat everyone. When we walked out, it wasn't competing with anybody, but it was just that we walked in and we were the best at what we could possibly do. And it's incredible for me because my relationship with my mom, my dad, my brother, my best friends, all the people who lift me up, it all comes down to that one thing that they've always encouraged every single time. Beat everyone. We're going to be covering it today, Proverbs 1, and it's wisdom, instruction, insight, prudence, discretion, guidance, understanding, wisdom. And guess what it is? It's a blueprint to beat everyone. Unscripted. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get this party started.
Cause we believing it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting right before your eyes. So it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Beat everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted. We're going through the corresponding proverb, corresponding day. It is February 1st. We want to start you off with the greatest foundation possible. And when I was looking at this, Proverbs 31, for me, I set it aside and I was like, wisdom's call. And I was so excited this morning. I was breaking it down and studying the word. And then my brother said, and big brother Rob just said, beat everyone. And it changed everything for me, because imagine if we had the blueprint to beat everyone. If we listen to wisdom's call, it'll give us the blueprint for beating everyone in every situation. Doesn't matter the circumstance. And when we walk into it and we have that type of mentality, 2 words, beat everyone. In Proverbs 1, we're going to go over wisdom, instruction, insight, prudence, discretion, guidance, understanding, and then wisdom. And you notice that wisdom sandwiches them all. This is wisdom's call. Number 1, it will give the advantages of wisdom. Number 2, it'll give the pitfalls of folly, or just not listening to wisdom. Then it'll have wisdom's call, and then it'll have wisdom's warning. And let's jump right into it. In verse number 1 through 7, it talks about the purpose and theme. And this one in Proverbs 1 breaks it down. Watch this. It tells you about what's going to happen and what are all the advantages of wisdom. And let's read in verse 1. It says, the Proverbs of Solomon of David, king of Israel, for gaining wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight, for receiving instructions in prudent behavior, doing what is right and just and fair, for giving prudence to those who are simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance. For understanding proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Imagine that. People constantly ask me, like, why Proverbs? Why do you study it every single day? Well, it breaks it down here. Imagine that, guys. Listen to it. It gives you wisdom, instruction, insight, prudence, discretion, guidance, understanding, and wisdom. And one of the craziest things here is let the wise listen and add to their learning, because we have to have a constant flow. We never get enough wisdom. So seek out wisdom as much as possible. And so that's what the advantages of wisdom are. Imagine that. Imagine if you could have wisdom, instruction, insight, prudence, discretion, guidance, understanding, and wisdom. Imagine you sandwich that all together. And in every situation you walked into, you had wisdom. What is that? The right use of knowledge. It means that every bit of knowledge that you got from that situation, you could just be like, wow, I know how to use this. And imagine if you added instruction to that, insight to that, prudence to that, discretion to that, guidance to that, understanding, and you did that in your relationship, you did that in your business. Guys, it would be what I call curtains, right? And point number 2 is the exhortations to embrace wisdom. And guys, when I read these words, the big words, exhortations, it's not a word that we use today. And a lot of times I used to get so freaked out on like Bible speak. But what I want to tell you is in Proverbs, they're just using that word because that was the language and vocabulary of the day. What's the language and vocabulary of today? Watch this. You're going to learn today. If you don't heed the warnings of not listening to wisdom, or heed the warnings of the pitfalls of folly, or let's change folly for being a bonehead, then you're going to learn today. In the first point in this is listen to your mom and pops in your heart and in your mind. And that's in verse 8 and 9. In verse 8 and 9, it says, listen, my son, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. They are a garland to grace around your head and a chain to adorn around your neck. But what it was saying in this is put it around your head, because when it goes into your mind, imagine what's on your head. It's got your eyes, what you see, what you hear, what you become aware of through your senses. And then it says, a chain to adorn around your neck. What's right here? You see where my chain's at? What's right here? It's my heart. If it goes into your head, it'll drop down into your heart. Once it gets into your heart, it will come out your mouth. Imagine that. And it's given the blueprint for this. So let's go on to point number 2 in this, is test it with wisdom in verse number 10. In verse number 10, it says, my son, if sinful men entice you, do not give in to them, Mr. James Dixon. We just had a call right now and they entice. People will call and say, hey, I got all these advantages. I got all these great things. But always test it with wisdom. Check and see, is it the right thing for you? What my mama said to me is I could do anything that I put my mind to, but just because I could do it didn't make it my purpose. And imagine if I wanted to beat everybody, all I have to do is apply wisdom to the things that they bring to me. Next point is chasing rabbits. This is what my pops taught me. My pops said, quit chasing rabbits, boy. I said, what's chasing rabbits, pops? He said, all them shiny things that you think are going to bring something. He says, seek God. He owns it all. He's the greatest PR agent. You don't have to have the algorithm. You know what the algorithm is? It's just a right relationship with God, because he'll bring it when he needs it. He'll bring the relationships. He'll bring the money. He'll bring the business. He'll bring all those things, but he'll bring it in a sustainable way. You're never going to miss the bus, because the bus was built for you. And if the bus was built for you, you can't miss it. That's what my pops would say to me. So stop chasing rabbits, boy. Watch this. Walk in integrity, son. This is what I wrote in October 1st, 2018. This is what God said to me. He said, walk in integrity, son, and I alone will prosper you. And then what he told me here, in 6:122, he said, your business is a reflection of your personal values. And verse 11 through 16, it goes through. If they say, come along with us, let us lie in wait for innocent blood. Let us ambush some harmless soul. Doesn't that sound like some people that are saying, like, if I had the right algorithm, I could just, extract money from people? Imagine that. Let's swallow them alive like the grave, and whole like those who go down in the pit. We will get all sorts of valuable things and fill our houses with plunder. Cast lots with us. We will share the loot. My son, do not go along with them. Do not set foot on their paths, for their feet rush into evil, and they are swift to shed blood. Your business is a reflection of your personal values. And the last point here is stuff and things. This is what my pops would always say to me. He said, stuff and things, son, ain't the answer. He would say, boy, don't be worrying about the stuff and things. Be worrying about your heart. Be worrying about your integrity, and be worrying about how you can set things up to be sustainable over time. And imagine if you want to beat everybody, you don't have to worry about the stuff and things. Because when you walk in with a firm foundation built on wisdom, and you test everything with wisdom, you stop chasing rabbits. You understand that you're going to learn today if you hadn't learned yesterday. You don't focus on the stuff and things. You realize that your business is a reflection of your personal values. Guess what starts to happen? You start beating everybody. Wisdom's call. Check this out. We go into it. So in wisdom's call, it's in verse 20 through 23, and it says, out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. She raises her voice in the public square. On top of the wall, she cries out. At the city gate, she makes her speech. Watch this, guys. Wisdom's call is like this. Number one, she calls to everybody in verse 29, right? In verse 29, actually, it's in verse 20. Wisdom's out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. Wisdom calls to everybody, but not everybody's listening. Country music's playing right now. Hip-hop music's playing right now. Rock music's playing right now. But are you tuned into that station? Once you tune into that station, then you start hearing it. But it doesn't mean if you're not tuned into the station that it's not playing. Wisdom is calling loud right now for every single one of us. The second point is that verse number 21. She calls out aloud. Wisdom calls out aloud. At the top of the wall, she cries out. At the city gate, she makes her speech. She ain't doing it low. It's everywhere. If you look, what's happening is the blueprint for you to beat everybody is there. It's loud. Do the right thing. But that's not the shiny thing. You can't chase rabbits. It's not going to be the rabbit, right? And so in verse number 23, I wrote that it's gold. It says, repent at my rebuke, and then I will pour out my thoughts to you. Imagine this. Solomon was given the option to be able to have anything in the world. You know what he chose? He chose wisdom. Why? Because wisdom could bring him all the other things that he could think about. And imagine this. In verse 23, I said it was gold. It said, repent and have my rebuke, meaning simply just heed the words that I'm talking to you. I'm calling out to you. I'm wisdom. I'm calling out. I'm helping you to beat everybody. And it says, then I will pour out my thoughts into you. Imagine if you could have God's thoughts. And we can by just simply seeking wisdom. And last point in this is that that here's the 3 reasons why we refuse. And number 1 is laziness. Number 2 is insecurity. And number 3 is false truth. In verse number 22, it takes us right through. So it says, how long will the simple love their ways? How long will the mockers delight in mockery? And how long will the fools hate knowledge? Watch this. How long will the simple love their simple ways? That is laziness, because a lot of times the wisdom way or the wise way tends to be a little bit tougher. How long will you mockers delight in their mockery, right? Insecurity. When you mock someone, it's just because you're insecure about what you're doing. And the last one is fools hate knowledge, and it's just because we have false truth in our life. And so if we truly want to beat everyone, imagine this, just heed wisdom's call. And here's wisdom's warning. The first one is you will call out and not be answered in verse 28. In verse 28, they will call to me, but I will not answer. They will look for me, but they will not find me. Imagine this. Imagine all those people that, have you had a friend or a person that wanted to be your friend right when things started to go well? Oh, wow, you're skyrocketing. You're jumping to the stratosphere. Let me hang out with you now. Oh, you didn't hear me 15 times when I was trying to talk to you before? Well, I can tell you this with wisdom. What it says is that if you don't heed, what'll happen is you'll call out and you won't be heard. The number 2 is the fruit of your schemes. You'll be rewarded with the fruit of your scheme. See, my brother and I were washing dishes when we were very young. I was probably in 4th grade, and I was like, I got washing duty. I would do washing. He would do drying. My older brother, Guy, would put them away, and I washed them as fast as possible, and I was thinking I was doing it right, and I did it, and then my brother was like, look, there's still food on it. You got to do it again. And then I was doing it fast, and then there's food on it. You got to do it again. And because I did not do it right, I had to do it 3 times, which took me 3 times as long, even though I thought I was doing it fast at first. Imagine this, the schemes. And a scheme is nothing more than you trying to take a shortcut of trying to do something that you know isn't the right thing, but you're just a little bit lazy. And that's what I was. I was lazy and I wanted to do it quick. But what happened in doing it lazy, and I had a scheme, I ate the fruit of my schemes. And what was that? That I had to wash them 3 or 4 times, and it took me even longer. The last one in this is waywardness. And waywardness in verse 32, it says, "For the waywardness of the simple will kill them, for the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear or harm." But let's just go back to verse 32. "For the waywardness of the simple will kill them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them." Imagine this, waywardness, just being sloppy. Complacency, meaning that just being lazy. And see, wisdom's warning is saying, you'll call out and you won't be answered. You'll eat the fruit of the seeds that you planted. And if you're wayward, meaning you're sloppy, I have been in my life. If you're lazy and you want to take a shortcut, I'm telling you, you're going to eat on that. That's what wisdom's warning was. And this is the crazy thing, because I was like, wow, God is gangster today. But then he came back and he was gangster. But what he said was, there's still a chance. Even if all those things, even if you don't heed the word, even if you don't take my warning, even if you listen to all the things that I told you and you didn't take them, there's still a chance. And in verse 33, so you're saying there's a chance. Well, yes, there is. In verse 33, it says, "Whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear or harm." And watch this as we come to a close today. The advantages of wisdom, the pitfalls of folly, the wisdom's call and wisdom's warning. But God wraps it up in his unconditional love that my brother talked to me about this morning, that I had to have for my daughter. And our God has that for us, saying that I don't need you to do all these actions. That's not what he said in verse 33. All he said was, you just need to listen to me. Because if I can get your ear, what'll happen is it'll drop down into your heart. Then you'll start speaking it out your mouth. And when you speak it out your mouth, it'll become your words. And when you hear your words, you will actually follow them. So imagine this. All we have to do is listen to God. And how do we listen to God? Not through religion, not through rituals, not through things that we do or the things that we do when we wake up or when we go to bed. It's by simply communing with him. What does he want me to do on that particular day? I got rocked today because I was coming in and I said, I got a plan, God. You gave me this plan, wisdom's call. And then you know what? I got on the phone and I heard wisdom. I heard wisdom applied from a guy named Rob Cardenas, my big brother, my hero. He said 2 words. He said, beat everybody. And how do we in life, in business, in relationships, how do we beat everyone? God gave us a blueprint, and that's Proverbs 1, and that's wisdom's call. And all God wants is for us to simply listen to his voice. This has been Unscripted. Proverbs 1, corresponding proverb, corresponding day, 3,000-year-old wisdom that is applicable today. Listen to wisdom's call. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.